Hey everybody, it's your old pal Mike. I hope you're happy, healthy, and safe. Welcome back to the channel because I'm gonna try something a little bit different this week. How's that? Ever since the channel hit 10K, I have been racking my brain trying to think of ways to bolster the amount and quality of content on this channel because yes, I want to keep the momentum going, but I also want to make very good videos that help inform and illuminate on the subject of guitar maintenance and repair, and as well as the fun of music. Making those long Friday videos, well, it just takes forever, and in between those videos, well, I've got a ton of projects going that I simply don't have time to film. Filming me working on a guitar, that literally doubles the amount of time that a repair takes. So instead of trying to focus on more repair-based videos, I thought instead we could try sort of a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly rundown video of things I've been working on. Because, you know, if you follow me on Instagram, you're gonna see those things. But on YouTube here, you have no idea. You think maybe I work on one thing a week, and you know, I've had quite a lot going on. So why don't we talk about some of the recent repairs I've done and touch on some of the challenges therein, as well as the things that went very smoothly, and even some things that I realized along the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. And the first thing I want to touch on is that I've done 3 fret jobs in the past 2 weeks, and boy, are my arms tired. The first of those many fret jobs was on a guitar that belongs to my good friend Connor. Connor being one of my favorite people in the world, as well as one of my favorite guitarists in the world. Connor is a master of fleet-fingered tapping. He does the metal, hardcore, post-hardcore thing beautifully. He happens to be a fellow treble hater like myself, and he uses an amp that I suggested a long time ago, being a Jet City amplifier, which gets beautifully dark and round, and has that mid-range presence to still cut. Really great sound that guy has. Anyway, he brought me his thin line Mexican Telecaster reissue. Egads! Gasp! That's not an offset! Yeah, sometimes I work on regular guitars too. Connor brought me his thin line Telecaster for a basic setup, but it quickly turned into much, much more. Once I got into the guitar and really started playing it and evaluating it, I realized that he had a lot of dead spots on his fretboard, and his action was incredibly high, like 0.09 inches above the fretboard, a lot higher than I would find comfortable personally, but with his tapping, you know, maybe he never noticed it. So once I realized that, I marked out all of the high frets on his fretboard and sent him a picture and just said, yeah, this isn't gonna work. So we elected to do a quick level and crown on that, which was fun because he also has stainless steel frets on his fretboard. They are a little bit rougher on your tools, they're a little bit harder to work on generally, but I'm happy to say my Z file cut through them like butter. Really, really smooth fret job. And you know, I actually came away from it with a much more positive impression of stainless steel frets than I have in the past. I don't know what it is, but I've certainly played examples of stainless steel frets where I felt like the guitar just had a lot of high-end zing, but not so in his guitar. It was round, it was warm, it was clean. Really excellent guitar, and I had so much fun playing it too. But once we got that taken care of, I went to reinstall the neck and noticed that his neck pocket, well, it was kind of a mess. It was actually curved. With 2 totally flat surfaces touching, you've got the best possible neck joint. You've got a stable neck-to-body connection as well as maximum transference. But a curved bottom on that neck pocket was just not doing anyone any favors. To repair that, I made a quick little tool that I've been referring to as Pocket Buddy. This is my Pocket Buddy, TM, 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 TM. And this little guy is just a block of spare wood that I've completely leveled flat, and I've attached some sandpaper to. And yeah, all I did was rub that in the neck pocket until it was flat. I could have routed, but that felt a little aggressive for the amount of wood that I needed to remove. And also, I just didn't trust any of my tracing bits to do the job well. So yeah, we did it that way, and at the end, I had a perfectly flat neck pocket. Perfect surfaces for the neck and body to join onto. And I also widened the holes for the neck bolts to pass through because his were actually gripping the body before gripping the neck, and that was causing a rather noticeable gap that allowed light to pass through between the neck and body, which also is terrible for playability and terrible for transference and just nothing I wanted to see. So I re-drilled the holes to allow the bolts to pass through the body freely, gripping only the neck. That's the best possible solution there. I'm really happy with the way that came out. Connor is very pleased, he tells me, and yeah, that's why I do what I do. Now, the other two fret jobs I've done this week were on my own guitars, one of them being my 66 12-string here in front of me. This is a great guitar. I wish I played 12-string more, and after the refret, maybe I will. It's just that the sound doesn't come up that often for me, and, you know, I don't like tuning them, so I will freely admit that. Now, this fretboard was problematic for a number of reasons, one of which being that the fretboard itself was just so incredibly dry and brittle, and every move I made, well, I had tear out. In fact, there was one time all I did was breathe close to a nut slot and a piece of wood just popped out. So, you know, now that it's conditioned, it's in a lot better shape. It did take quite a lot of filling in with rosewood dust and very thin super glue to correct all of that, but in the end, it came out beautifully. That fretboard is perfectly level. The frets are perfectly level and polished. But I cannot wait to get this thing all the way back together so I can play some 12-string and maybe figure out how I can really use that to maximum benefit in my own music. Now, the real reason this guitar isn't all the way back together before filming is just for the fact that I wanted to lubricate and clean out the tuners a little bit more. These are the original F tuners from 66, and if you've ever used them, you know that they can be a little sloppy and grindy, and that's just not a fun thing at all. So I'm going to clean them out, I'm going to lubricate them, pop them back on the guitar, and we should be in business. I also took the time to completely refret my 12 Jaguar. This guitar is such a beast. It has fought me tooth and nail over the years of, you know, not really wanting to be a guitar, and I wish I could explain that better. It's just that every change I make to it seems to improve it. So now that I've got brand new frets on it, oh, oh, it's so much better than it was. So much more playable, and even the fretboard seems to have come back to life a little bit. This fretboard always felt like it had been finished or dipped in something, and it wouldn't take oil. Anytime I oiled it, it would just kind of sit on the wood surface. But now that I've planed the fretboard, installed new frets, leveled and crowned them, the fretboard looks a lot better after oil, and it also, oh God, it just plays better than it ever has. So I cannot wait to make more music with this thing. Now, these two guitars also need one more thing done to them, and that is a new nut for each, which I'm sort of hesitant to do on the 12 because, God, I hate that. Those courses of strings being so close together it's never fun for me, so I will get to that probably sooner rather than later, but I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to have any fun, I promise. Oh, let's see, what else did I work on? Oh, there was the Squier Affinity Jazz bass that I cut a new nut for. This is one of those basses that looks like it came from the Guitar Center amp and gig bag and cable and tuner and booklet pack. You know the kind. Now, that one came to me for a setup, but it also needed a new nut, or any nut at all, because it didn't have one when it arrived. Now, because it didn't have a nut, I had to very carefully choose the string spacing on that one instead of copying the original nut like I would normally do. And that's not difficult, it just takes a little bit of thought to choose what's going to work best for the player. String spacing at the nut can really have a huge effect on the playability of an instrument, you know, dictating the spread as the strings widen toward the bridge. If those strings are too close together, well, it's going to be hard to cleanly fret each string individually, but if they're too far away, well, you know, you're going to have your outer strings a little too close to the crowns of the frets, and that means they're going to fall off the fretboard. So these are all things that you need to think about when you are cutting a nut, and luckily this one came out great. Now, of course, because it's a jazz bass, I would be remiss if I didn't test it by playing Tired of Sex by Weezer, because I think that's one of Matt Sharp's best bass lines ever. But it also happened to be Yonsi's birthday from Sigur Rós, so I played a little bit of Sigur Rós to test the thing, and it came out great. The bass plays great. Sounds, feels, plays just like a jazz bass should. I'm really happy with it. And the last job I want to talk about is for the same customer as the jazz bass, and that happens to be one of these fantastic CME player Jazzmasters. If you haven't seen those, man, they're cool. They've got great finish options, including this one, which is shell pink, with a white headstock, and it looks like Easter. Oh, God, I love this model so much. The only thing I really don't like about it is that blade switch, which is in a position where it's very easy to hurt your knuckles. I don't like that change, but everything else about the guitar I really enjoyed. Now this one came in for a super quick setup as well as swapping the hardware for mastery parts, and I did it very quickly because those parts were actually meant for a different guitar. The customer brought me their first CME player, Jazzmaster, for a setup because they were complaining that it just was really tough to play in the middle of the neck. Initially, I thought that was simply a matter of tightening the truss rod and, dialing out some relief, but as it turns out, that original guitar had a twisted neck. Now this is never a good sign, and sometimes it's something that you can plane out of a neck. You can even encourage it to twist differently if you're very skilled with steam and heat treatment. But sadly, this neck was a little bit too twisted for even my skill level and the equipment that I have here. And plus, it's a brand new guitar. It shouldn't be twisted. So luckily, CME took care of that guitar. He sent the twisted one back and got a brand new one. And the new one, it plays beautifully. Now on the new guitar, we quickly swapped out all the hardware for mastery components. That's the bridge and the vibrato. And the bridge required pulling the old thimbles, widening the holes with a drill press, and then putting the new mastery thimbles into place. All of that went beautifully. No surprises, no trouble. We also swapped out the pickups for Novaks, the JM Fat and JMV set, which is what I have in Pancake. It's one of my favorite sets on the market, and I think this customer is going to love them, especially when it comes to the switching on the guitar. Now, the one thing that I do like about the blade switch is that series parallel position, and the series sounds great with the Fat and V. I mean, huge sounds! The only other thoughts I have on that model, aside from them being basically great instruments with a great color, is that I wish it had a rhythm circuit because I use and require that, and I miss it when it's not there. And the only other complaint I have about that model is that Chicago Music Exchange, if you watch this, I want that body. Can I please have that pink body? I was messing around while waiting for a response from the owner, and so I popped a gold spare pick guard on it, and my God, I fell in love with it. It's a lightweight body, shell pink is a kick-ass color, and I think it would look great with a gold guard, so please, can I buy that? Please. Oh my God, I love it. And in my downtime, I've been enjoying the music of Heilung. I've been listening to a lot of them ever since playing the first Hellblade game. And if I were to review that, my review would be beautiful and frustrating. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I loved Senua's story. And also, when I was looking up the sequel that's forthcoming, I discovered Heilung from that amazing 4K trailer, and absolutely fell in love with it. So yeah, I've been listening to a lot of them, a lot of the band Haim, watching some of their performances live. I've been eagerly anticipating the new Garbage record, enjoying Garbage, going back to the first debut album and loving every minute of that. And as for other downtime activities, I've been enjoying the world of Fallout 3. I've beaten that game like 4, 5, 6 times already, but I decided to re-enter the Capital Wasteland with a brand new character named Fahugwagads after Strong Bad, because I'm a big fan, and my buddy Callie just did some amazing work with the Homestar Runner folks. So in honor of that fantastic Strong Bad email, Fahugwagads, come on Fahugwagads, come on Fahugwagads, everybody. So yeah, I'm enjoying Fallout 3. I haven't played it in quite a few years. It's just a comfort food game for me. I love that game. I love New Vegas. Don't get me wrong, great game, but Fallout 3 has my heart. Probably my favorite of the 3D Fallouts. So that's what I've been doing with my downtime, aside from destroying my digestive tract with even more amazing Torchbearer hot sauce. Got a new shipment of that this week, including a 12-ounce bottle of Zombie Apocalypse. which I'm like already that far through. Like, ugh, I can't get enough of that stuff. To close out this video, I've got a few upcoming projects that I'm excited about. One, I've got a classic player Jaguar that I'm going to review before I replace its hardware for Mastery hardware to really, really make that thing play and perform its absolute best. Also, I've got 3 guitars coming from somebody who's a pretty big deal to me, and somebody who I will save the surprise for later, but they're sending me 3 guitars for some serious work, and I'm really excited that they reached out. This person happens to be an enormous inspiration of mine when it comes to making these videos, because they're somebody who is so good about sharing vital information in their field and doing it in an entertaining way. So hopefully I can glean some tips while I'm at it, but I won't spoil the surprise. We'll keep that for another video. And because I'm a madman, I do have one more refret that I want to do on my own instruments, and that is on the Spare 63 Jaguar neck on the guitar behind me, this unfinished body, which will be featured in an upcoming video on vibrato position, so do keep an eye out for that. Anyway, that about wraps it up. That's a picture of what my last few weeks have looked like and what the next week is going to look like for me. I hope you found this video entertaining and informative somehow. And I do appreciate you watching. Thank you, as always, for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for subscribing, for doing all of that good stuff that means something to the YouTube algorithm, which is unknowable and unchangeable. And as always, I appreciate you coming back to the channel again and again. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next video.